I've just got done getting a handful of tools set up over here. I got the Harbor Freight Hercules chop saw with the stand. I'll be cutting these into 10-inch strips, so these can kind of be my spreaders to hold the bottom of the stem wall. And I got these 10-inch form clips, and so these go on the top and keep me 10 inches apart. I'll also be able to use these to tie the rebar and suspend it down into the wall. All of these 2x4s are going to be supports for the top and the bottom. And then I got the table saw. I'm going to have to rip all of these sheets of 3/4 for my concrete forms. I'm going to have to rip them in half. Since this is a corner, I got to take 10 inches off. So one side's 10 inches shorter than the other side. Oh, I need to change my blade. Got a concrete blade on this still. So nice that this DeWalt tool, and a lot of tools now, just keep the tool that you need right there. All right, let's go get the right blade. Okay, here we go again. Sweet. All right, so I'm gonna be cutting a bunch of these. So I'm gonna go ahead and give myself a block to stop up against. So I know I'm exactly at 10 inches every time, and I don't have to worry about it. All right, I only need about 6,000 or 7,000 of these, so let's cut a bunch of them. All right, so I realized I need to still bump my strings out to make space for the 3/4 inch form to be able to put my stem wall where I actually end up needing it. So, and I made my strings a 1/4 inch over where I wanted so that I could keep them off of the stem wall. But I'm gonna change that to a 1/2 inch just to give myself more play. So since it's already at a 1/4 inch over what I want it, bump it out another 1/4 inch, and then the 3/4 inch plywood. So moving out 1 inch here. Bump my string out, and I'll go around and do that everywhere. All right, so we have now got all of our plywood in place, and the gravel is, like, it's probably within 1.5 inches if you took the best and the worst spots. And so what I'm gonna do is get the laser out and shoot grade and figure out where our highest spot is, and then we'll bring everything else up to that. And then that way we can start going through and making sure that we've got the string set to where the string should be about 3.5 inches off of our form. When I say about, I mean it needs to be 3.5 inches off of our form. And so then we can go around and bring our forms to the right elevation with the laser, as well as make sure it's off the string, the proper distance. And we're gonna not do any 2x4s on the top of our forms, but we are doing them on the bottom where we're gonna be staking, and that's gonna keep the bottom of our forms from blowing out. And the top of our forms are gonna mostly just be held by these form clips. Oh, thank you. So yeah, we're about ready to just start straightening and leveling out our forms. Once we're done with that, then we'll work on getting rebar into the forms everywhere. And when we're done getting the rebar in, then we'll work on putting boxes underneath each footing post location. So it's a stem wall slash, post frame construction, and that's what the engineer called out. So that's what we're doing. All right, we're getting ready to start making up all of these rebar mats that we're going to be putting in our 3x3 footing. These are 2.5 feet, or just over a little bit over 2.5 feet, and we can get 8 cuts out of one 20-foot stick of rebar. And then our footings here are a foot thick. So this first one we did was only 2 foot by 2 foot pieces, and it just looked too small. And so this size will be better, fills out the form. So we have to have one on the bottom and then one on the top like this, so that will suspend down. Then inside of our stem wall here, we have to have a rebar towards the bottom and one towards the top that run in it, and we'll hang those down from our form clips here. But we'll show you how we're gonna try to make these, because we have to make 62 of these mats. So it's going to be a lot of cutting and rebar tying. So we've got our 20-foot sticks of number 4 rebar here, and then our rebar, our manual cutter and bender. And I just screwed this to the deck of the trailer, and I screwed up a board here to stop it. That way we can pull one over, scoot it over to where it stops. And pull it over and assembly line it this way. We got 60 more pieces of rebar we got to cut through. So I'll cut these up and then I'll show you how we're tying them. It's a rebar tire that we got on Amazon. I normally don't tie rebar that much, so I went with a cheaper one, which it's not cheaper. It's still $1,200. I'll cut this and then we'll show you how we're tying it. We got our 2x4s here. I usually set one on the side, one at the end. Space them out. So this is the gun that we're trying out here. It's called a New Try. It's their upgraded one, and we'll see how it does. Oh, turn it on. Oh, malfunction. Trying different things. That was with it rested all the way on the bar. Holding it off a little bit. It seems to do a tighter tie when I'm up a little bit. All right. All right, so we got all of our boxes screwed onto the forms and all of our rebar mats that we made up. We've got screws right here, and then that suspends the rebar up. You can see each box, we have a 10-inch stem wall, and then underneath each post is a 3x3 box with those rebar mats in it. And then going in the stem wall, we've got a piece of rebar running on top about 3 to 5 inches down, and then another one about 3 to 5 inches up from the bottom. And we've got 2-foot rebar tied 2 foot on center all the way around. And so right now, Shell is working on filling underneath the forms everywhere. If there's any gaps, we can make sure concrete doesn't leak out there. And I'm going around setting the brackets in place. All right, so here's gonna be a post location. So I've pulled my tape out and I've made my marks on the center of where every post is gonna go. And then what I'm doing is I've already figured out if I put these 5 inches apart from each other, it holds one of these brackets perfect. So I just go 2.5 inches, go mark 5 inches, 0. So then I'll put these, and I'm screwing these in. I'll have to unscrew them as the concrete's like starting to set up, but that's a lot easier to do than trying to set all these brackets. We got 31 of them. It's a 112 by 48, so it would be a lot of work, especially these ones are pretty heavy. And then I'm gonna make a gauge that gets me 1.5 inches in, as well as a 1/2 inch for my OSB. And then that way my OSB will be completely flush with the concrete, and I'll have my metal trim extend down, and that's what will overlap the concrete so that no rats. They'll have concrete, and then they'll have metal, and they won't be able to get in through the wood or anything like that. So that's how we're setting these posts, so then we can just pour. And these, as long as I use my gauge to keep it in the right spot, it's going to put all these brackets exactly where we want them this way. I mean, there's this tiny bit of play, but man, it's not much. It's probably like 1/8 inch. And I'm not doing the corners because I can't do this method on the corners. So all the corners I'll just drop in to the concrete by hand as it's setting. But all the wall ones I don't have to worry about. 4 more to do, and then all of the brackets will be in place besides the corners. Help if I flip that on. Shell, you're so awesome. You're so cool. Am I so lucky to have you or what? You hear that? I'm gassing Shell up. I'm so lucky to have you.
Oh, that's heavy. Here we go.
So the gauge, it basically, it's a 2 3/4 inch, which goes 1.5 inches for our 2x material, 1/2 inch for OSB, and 3/4 inch for the thickness of this. That way we've got, after our OSB goes on, it'll be flush with the concrete wall, so our metal trim can drop down to make it to where mice and rats only have concrete against metal to try to get into the wall. And so we've got the little gauge made so you can put it on the wall and push your bracket into place. All right, just got back out here next morning, and everything looks pretty good. This is where we made it an 1.5 inch lower for where the garage doors are going to be. Yesterday I went through and popped off all these clips here next to each bracket. So yeah, we'll start. Yesterday we popped a clip, and you can see that there's a bow here in the form right there. It bows out, and we were like, okay, we'll just not do any more until later.
Let's say the things that we both know. Gonna take these words and make them stone. I know a place on the edge of town where whiskey and the wind are the only sound. Let's make like a tree, grow some roots, do all the things that old folks do. I need you and you need me. What else more could someone need? You've got a key and I've got a lock. Let's build a house upon a rock. Let's build a house upon a rock. Want someone to lie with, rely on to fly with. Wanna drive all night and head out west. Get lost in Montana, find the Santa Ana. If we're going nowhere, we're going nowhere fast. Hard times come and hard times pass. I'll be there when the sky turns black. I need you and you need me. What else more could someone need? You've got a key and I've got a lock. Let's build a house upon a rock. Let's build a house upon a rock. I need you and you need me. What else more could someone need? You got a key and I've got a lock. Let's build a house upon a rock. Let's build a house upon a rock. And if that well runs dry, that'll never cross our minds. So bring on the aftershock. Let's build a house upon a rock. Let's build a house upon a rock.
All right, so we just finished getting all of the forms cleaned up and picked up. What we did is we filled our dump trailer with a bunch of the kind of scrap stuff. We'll pick through it later, maybe burn it, keep our house warm this winter. And then the rest of the 4-foot like braces that we had, we just kind of stacked those up. We still have a bunch of these clips, form clips. And then we saved all the 3-foot 2x12s. And then I made this box for our stakes here. So we filled up, we didn't use this one. That's about what we didn't use. We used some of them, but we used all of these. And so these are all 24-inch stakes. And so I used some of the forms that we had, the 3-footers, and made a little box that we can move this around with the forks if we need to. But feels good to have everything stripped and organized, ready for the next part of the project. These 2 holes out here at the end that these 36-inch sono tubes are going in are for these 6x12 posts. They had to be in the ground out here instead of on brackets for the shear strength, because it's a 24x72 covered patio, and this is where most of the shear strength is coming from. Getting close to the hole. All right, got out here this morning, stripped forms off of these 3 boxes, and now it's time to backfill, get this thing cleaned up.